And Kelly's going to smoke one into left center field. J.J. Bleday, full extension layout, makes the catch. Hello, everybody, and welcome back to another episode of the Bobby Valentine Sports Show. I'm your host, Frank Rampin. The 2024 MLB regular season has come to an end. Well, kinda, pretty much, about 99.9%. There are 2 games left, actually. The Atlanta Braves and the New York Mets play a doubleheader in Atlanta starting today at 1:10 p.m. Those 2 games are going to determine who makes the playoffs, the final 2 wildcard spots. If the Mets and the Braves split, they both make the playoffs. If the Mets get swept, the Diamondbacks take their spot, and the Braves and the Diamondbacks make it. And if the Braves get swept, it will be the Mets and the D-backs. So still that 1 or 2 final wildcard spots up for grabs today, but everything else is over. Came and gone 6 months down the drain. Now we are in season number 2, the postseason. So let's dive right into it. And the final week and the final game of the Oakland Athletics has come and gone. They played their final game in the Coliseum on Thursday. I was there, of course, and they played their final game as an Oakland franchise yesterday on Sunday. Man, what an emotional week. And I got a couple things here. My Forever Coliseum, my Coliseum giveaway replica right here. That's going to go right at the front and center for today's episode, right in front of the boys, because that's what they are. I got my 2 tickets. These are both from the boycott game, or from the last game ever. September 26, 2024. Got them stamped with both the Last Dive Bar and the Coliseum stamps. Shout out the people that did it for me, Jenny, and the people that at the Last Dive Bar, and the people for that. Shout out Tyler Ferguson. Is this guy kidding me? Absolute demon. Signed my thing. Have a jar of dirt from him from the Coliseum. And here's that box that the Coliseum thing came in. Pretty cool. But let's dive into this week's episode. The Oakland A's no longer. We'll do a video about that later. We'll dive into it more as we go on. But here we go. So the stat of the week. In the history of MLB baseball, there have been over 700 triple plays turned, 300 no-hitters thrown, over 300 sets of back-to-back-to-back home runs, and over 100 different comebacks from down 8 or more runs. There's only been one team in the history of baseball to do all 4 in the same year. Turn a triple play, have a no-hitter, have a back-to-back-to-back home run set, and an 8-run comeback. The 2024 San Diego Padres. And speaking of that, let's look at their triple play. So this brings us to, I believe it was Tuesday night out in Dodger Stadium. This was still when the division was up for grabs. The Dodgers did end up winning 2 games out of 3 in the series to win the division, but the Padres took game 1. So this is game 1 of the series. Bottom of the 9th inning, 4-2, Padres on top, Miguel Rojas at the dish. Runners on first and second, nobody out after Kike Hernandez had a single to make it 4-2. On deck batter is Shohei Ohtani. And if you follow baseball, you know how otherworldly hot he is right now with a chance to win this game for the Dodgers. So Robert Suarez working to Miguel Rojas. No outs, runners on first and second. Miguel Rojas at the dish. And what's he going to do? Rips one hard to Manny Machado at third, who steps on the bag, fires to second for 2. A triple play ends the ball game. What a ridiculous way to end this one at Chavez Ravine. Machado to Cronenworth, over to first base. Triple play. Oh my goodness. Triple play ends the game and clinches a Padres playoff berth. What a game. What a play that was for the Padres. Unreal. So the triple play, awesome play of the week. And I thought that was going to be the play of the week until I went out to the Coliseum for the final game there. This comes from September 26th, Thursday, the final ever game at the Coliseum. So we'll pick things up later in the game. Top of the 7th, Tyler Ferguson, the absolute man right here, the GOAT, on the mound in the top of the 7th inning, working a 1-2 count to Carson Kelly, the backup catcher for the Rangers. And Kelly's going to smoke one into left center field. J.J. Bleday, full extension layout, makes the catch. The Coliseum went nuts for maybe one final time. This place was going crazy. It was the middle of a wave, too. The wave was happening. The place where the wave was invented by Crazy George, the awesome A's fan, created the wave here at the Oakland Coliseum, and J.J. Bleday. What a play that was. Place went crazy. Huge play that was, keeping it 3-2, and the A's did end up winning the final game at the Coliseum. So we'll do a little bit more of a deep dive video into that one as we move on throughout the week, but this is the entire recap. So 2 plays of the week, 1 triple play to end the season, or end the game, put the Padres in the playoffs, and then J.J. Bleday, the final web gem ever at the Oakland Coliseum. So the two plays of the week now to the game of the week, this one with postseason implications. A lot of series throughout this final weekend had postseason implications, and it's not even done yet. So Braves, Royals at Atlanta this weekend. Both teams really needed wins, as the Tigers, we'll talk about them more, were shrieking. The Royals are a little bit struggling, so need to get into the playoffs. So top of the third inning, 0-0 ball game. Dairon Blanco grounds one to short. Orlando Arcia to Ozzie Albies over to first, double play. But Freddie Fermin does come in to score the first run of the ball game. So Royals on top 1-0, inching their way closer to clinching a playoff spot. In this game, the Royals were looking for a playoff spot, and the Braves looking to inch their way closer into the third wildcard spot, or possibly the second, with the Braves and the Mets. Or with the Mets and the D-backs, excuse me. And moving ahead now to the bottom of the fourth inning. After a double off the top of the wall by Jorge Soler, he's at second with two away. Ramon Laureano grounds one back to Michael Lorenzen at the mound, and he throws it away. Lorenzen had time there, just throw that one into the camera well. That allows Jorge Soler to score all the way from second and tie up the ball game. Costly mistake from Lorenzen. We are tied at 1. So the game stays tied at 1 all the way to the ninth inning. Travis d'Arnaud comes up with one out, 2-0 pitch, ripped deep to center field, walk-off homer. Travis d'Arnaud, the biggest home run of the season for the Braves, keeps them alive, puts them ahead of the Mets and the Diamondbacks, actually, because the Braves won this game, and the D-backs and the Mets both lose on this day. So both teams lose, Braves win, they move up ahead of them for the final wildcard spot. So a pretty wild end of the season it has been, and still not over yet. Playoff spots still up for grabs. So the final standings update will start here in the AL East like we always do. The New York Yankees with the best record in the American League, 94-68, they win the American League East. 21st time they won the division, that's the third most ever. They're going to their 59th postseason, that is the most of all time. And Aaron Judge reached the 140 RBI mark for the first time in his career. He's the first player to have 140 or more RBIs since Prince Fielder and Ryan Howard each had 141 back in 2009. And he's the first Yankee to have 140 RBIs since A-Rod. The Orioles, 91-71, so I was wrong with my AL East prediction. Thought the Orioles were going to take this one. The Yankees ended up doing it. Anthony Santander becomes the fourth ever switch hitter to have 44 or more home runs. Mickey Mantle did that 2 times. Lance Berkman did it, and so did Chipper Jones. The Red Sox, third straight year missing the playoffs for them. They finished 81-81, the epitome of mid. The Rays, 80-82. Taj Bradley became the third pitcher in Rays history to have 150 strikeouts at the age of 23 or younger. And the Blue Jays, 14 games under 500. Man, Vlad had such a good year to be wasted. The Phillies end up winning the National League East, 95-67 their record. First National League East title since 2011. And Kyle Schwarber become the first Philly to have back-to-back 100 RBI games since 2011. The Braves play the Mets today in a doubleheader to see who's going to make that second and third wildcard spots. Like I said before, if they split, both the Mets and the Braves will make the playoffs. If one team gets swept, the team that gets swept falls out of the playoffs, and the Diamondbacks take their spot. So, great day of baseball to come today. Lindor, a part of that. Like we said, the Mets, both teams 88-72. So whoever wins this, if they split, the Braves will take the tiebreaker. And Lindor, he hit his 109th home run as a Met yesterday, and he became the most home runs ever hit by a shortstop in Mets history. So whoever says Francisco Lindor has been bad or overrated since he's been a Met, you're wrong, okay? The Nationals, 20 games under 500 at 71-91. Stone Garrett, if you do remember last year, had a gruesome leg injury, broke his fibula in his left leg, I believe it was. He hit a home run in his first at-bat back a year later, so good for him. The Marlins, 62-100. Jonah Bride, the former A, hot right now, hit a homer in back-to-back games for the first time in his career. And Xavier Edwards became the first player to hit 3 triples in a game since Yasiel Puig did it back in 2014. Over to the Central, the American League Central. 3 American League Central teams make the playoffs. The Guardians win the division. The Royals make the playoffs as the second AL wildcard. And the Detroit Tigers, the hottest team in baseball for the last month and a half, make the playoffs as the last American League wildcard team. So, back to the top with Cleveland, win the division again. Stephen Vogt, very good chance he's going to be up for Manager of the Year. His first season as a manager, a coach at any level really, was playing for the A's last season, now leading a team to the playoffs. Emmanuel Clase broke the Cleveland all-time record for saves in a season with 47. The Kansas City Royals clinched their first postseason berth since 2015. That was the year they won the World Series. And before this season, there had been 80 teams in the history of baseball to have at least 104 losses in the year before. And the 2023 Royals are the first team to ever make the playoffs the next year. Unbelievable. Bobby Witt Jr. became the third Royal to lead the MLB in average. He had a .332 batting average this year. He joined George Brett, who did it in 1980, and Willie Wilson, who did it in 1982. And Lucas Erceg pitched for 3 consecutive days for the first time in his career and recorded a save in all 3. So, could be an interesting year for the Royals as they become just the first team to lose 106 games as well and make the playoffs the next year. So, a pretty impressive turnaround from this Kansas City team. Bobby Witt has a lot to do with that. The Tigers, what a end of the season they had. They finished the season 10 games over 500, 86-76. They clinched their first playoff berth in 10 years, the 17th in franchise history, first as a wild card team. So the first time ever that the Detroit Tigers make the playoffs as a wild card team. Wild card became a thing in 1995. They lead Major League Baseball with 13 wins when trailing after 7 innings. So this Tigers team does not quit. And they have 7 leadoff home runs this season. That is a franchise record. The Minnesota Twins absolutely free fell their way out of this postseason race. 82-80 they finished. They lost probably 15 or 20 of their last 25 games. Unbelievably bad stretch for the Twins. They missed the playoffs. The White Sox finished with the worst record in the history of baseball. They go 41-121 for the worst record in the modern era, worst record in a 162-game season. Unbelievable. They did win their first game this season when trailing after 7 innings on Tuesday. And Andrew Benintendi, who's really been the lone bright spot on this White Sox team, had his 3rd walk-off of the season. That's only behind Nick Castellanos of the Phillies for the most in Major League Baseball. And they had a 7-run inning this week, their most runs in a single inning. So a few like bright spots to close off the season for the White Sox, but they do lose the most games in the history of the 162 MLB season. The Milwaukee Brewers sitting at 93-69. Willie Adames and Jackson Trio, first pair of teammates in Brewers history to each have a 2020 season. They win this division for the 3rd time in the last 4 years. Freddie Peralta, the 4th pitcher in Brewers history to have multiple 200 strikeout seasons. And Rhys Hoskins hit his 3rd Grand Slam of the season on Friday against the Mets. He has more Grand Slams than 7 teams. He's got more than the Guardians, the Rangers, the White Sox, the Twins, the Nats, the Red Sox, and the Astros. Unbelievable. And Bryce Terang stole base number 50 this weekend. Pretty impressive. The Chicago White Sox end their season 4 games above 500, 83-79. They did play the shortest game in baseball, an hour and 48 minutes, since Armando Galarraga's should have been perfect game back in 2011. The St. Louis Cardinals, same record as the Cubs. Mason Wynn becomes the 4th Cardinal to have 150 hits in his rookie season since 1957. He's the first since Pujols, who did it back in 2001, and Pujols had 194 hits that year. And Ryan Helsley set the all-time St. Louis saves record with 49 in one season, breaking the old record set by Trevor Rosenthal back in 2015. The Reds, this was my worst prediction of all by any division. I thought the Reds were going to win this division, and they came in 4th. 77-85 on the season, not a good year for the Redlegs. And the Pirates, 10 games under 500, 76-86, but Paul Skeens, unbelievable. Probably going to come in 2nd in Rookie of the Year voting behind Jackson Merrill. He had the second lowest ERA of any rookie pitcher ever. His 1.96 ERA is the 2nd lowest ERA by any rookie starting pitcher since earned runs became official back in 1913, and that's only behind Reb Russell, who had a 1.9 ERA in 1913. So out to the West to finish things up, the Houston Astros win this division again, 88-73. Justin Verlander picked up his 24th win versus the Cleveland Guardians / Indians. That is tied for his most versus any opponent with the Royals. The Seattle Mariners failed to make the postseason at 85-77, but Cal Raleigh, their backstop, just broke the all-time MLB record for most home runs hit by a catcher in their first 4 MLB seasons. He broke Mike Piazza's record for the most homers hit, 93 home runs in his first 4 MLB seasons. And that's also the most by any Mariners player in their first 4 seasons. Logan Gilbert became the first Mariners player to lead the league in innings pitched ever, and Brian Wu just finished with a .9 whip, the lowest for any season in Mariners history. The Texas Rangers sitting at 78-84. They are missing the playoffs, so a new champion will be crowned in about a month. Marcus Semien just had his 1,500th hit of his career. It happened at the Oakland Coliseum, the Bay Area native, and he has 403 hits at the Coliseum. That is the active leader. And speaking of that, the Oakland A's, played their final game as the Oakland A's. They finished their year 69-93. Their final homestand came last week at the Oakland Coliseum. Jacob Wilson had his first career walk-off on Tuesday, and it was actually the last ever walk-off in the history of the Oakland Coliseum. I was there. It was a great scene. They had 485 walk-offs since the A's moved to the Coliseum in 1968. That's the most in Major League Baseball during that span. So, magical things happened in those walls at the Coliseum, the most walk-offs of any venue during that time. The final game at the Coliseum was played on Thursday to a sold-out crowd of 46,889. It was the largest crowd in Major League for a Major League team's final home game in a city ever. Fans got to the stadium over 5 hours before the first pitch of the game. A's legend Dave Stewart and Rickey Henderson threw out the first pitch in the game. Barry Zito sung the national anthem that was accompanied by an unbelievable flyout, and Mason Miller closed out the game with a 103.8-mile-an-hour fastball, the fastest pitch ever tracked at the Coliseum, and it was the 28th save of Miller's rookie season, extending his Oakland record. And here are the Oakland Coliseum lasts. The last save, obviously just said it, Mason Miller. The last hit, Seth Brown. The last run, Jacob Wilson. The last RBI, J.J. Bleday. The last walk, Tyler Soderstrom. The last strikeout, Mason Miller struck out Leody Taveras. And the last home run, actually, this is interesting, was Seth Brown. But it came on September 6th, 20 days before the final game in Oakland. They did not hit a home run for their final 8 games at the Coliseum. That's the longest homerless streak in Oakland Coliseum history. The last 8 games, and I guess it will just go on forever. The home of the A's from 1968 to 2024. 57 years, 61 postseason games played there. The 1987 All-Star Game was played there. 75,948 hits were recorded. 39,413 runs. 8,327 homers. The A's regular season record there was 2,491 in 2000, a record of 555. They won 4 World Series as the Oakland A's, 6 AL pennants, 17 division titles, which is the 4th most in baseball, 21 playoff appearances. They had 7 Hall of Famers, 7 MVP winners, 7 Rookie of the Year winners, 5 Cy Young Awards, 4 Manager of the Year awards, over 1,100 players played, and 9,002 games played as the Oakland A's. And here are the only cities to have won 2 or more World Series, 2 or more Super Bowls, and 2 or more NBA Finals. Boston, known as Titletown, New York, LA, Miami, and Oakland. So, historic chapter in really sports history comes to a close as the city of Oakland loses its final sports team within a 5-year span. The last year for both the Warriors and the Raiders came back in 2019, and now the A's are gone after the 2024 season. So an end of an era in Oakland. Final time you'll ever see these Kelly Greens with the Oakland across the front. And man, what a sad time it is, honestly. Like, what a sad time. Very, very tragic. The A's, historic franchise, one of the best teams, or one of the most historic, well-known teams in all of baseball. Charter American League franchise will leave Oakland for the final time. And man, it is sad. The Angels finishing the division in last, 63-99. And over to the National League to wrap things up. The Dodgers, best record in MLB at 98-64. National League West champions for the 11th time in the last 12 years. Shohei Ohtani became the first player to reach 400 total bases since 2011. He also broke the all-time stolen base records in a season by a Japanese-born player with 57. That passes Ichiro, who had 56 back in 2001. Ohtani had 59 steals on the season in total and 54 home runs. Unbelievable. The Padres clinched playoffs on that triple play I talked about. First team in MLB history to turn a triple play on the same day they clinched the postseason, and the triple play literally clinched it. Luis Arias is the first player in MLB history to win 3 straight batting titles with 3 different teams. One with Minnesota in the American League, and now he's going to win 2 straight National Leagues, last year with the Marlins, this year with the Padres. The Diamondbacks, 89-73, need a sweep by either the Mets or the Braves today to make the playoffs. Eugenio Suarez, the 3rd D-back ever to have 30 home runs and 100 RBI season, joining Matt Williams and Jake Lamb. And it's going to be interesting to see what happens today, because if there's no sweep in this doubleheader, if the Mets and the Braves split this doubleheader, the World Series winner and the team that lost the World Series, the Diamondbacks, will not make the playoffs. The Rangers and the D-backs. Crazy. The Giants sitting at 80-82. Matt Chapman, the boy, hit an inside-the-park home run First inside the park home run by a Giant since 2017. He also tripled in the game, becoming the first Giant to hit an inside the park home run and hit a triple in the same game since Monty Irvin in 1953. And Logan Webb surpassed 200 innings for consecutive seasons for the first time in his career. And to round things up, the Rockies 61 and 101. Charlie Blackmon just played the final game of his MLB career yesterday. Huge standing ovation he got as he took the field all alone in the first inning. And he has 227 home runs. That's tied for 5th all-time on the Rockies home run list with Carlos Gonzalez. And Sam Hillard hit a 476 home run to close out the season yesterday at Coors Field. So that's going to do it for us. The 2024 MLB regular season has come to an end. We'll dive into the postseason when that happens. So today, doubleheader between the Mets and the Braves to decide who gets those last 2 spots in the National League wildcard. And then the playoffs start Tuesday. We'll be in every week once the playoffs begin to keep you updated with that. So hope you enjoyed this one on the Bobby Valentine Sports Show. I'm Frank Rampin. Peace out.